Well, back in late February, a sinkhole developed on Evansville's Riverside Drive at Chestnut Street. That hole forced authorities to close the westbound lanes of Riverside and eventually all lanes of Riverside as the hole increased in size. Since then, heavy rain and high river levels have stopped crews from making needed repairs. Meanwhile, neighbors have blamed the hole for sewage and water backing up in nearby basements. Joining me now to talk about all of this is the Executive Director of the Evansville Water and Sewer Department, Vic Kelson. Vic, great to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Good to have you here, sir. Well, let's just go back to the beginning, I guess. As we mentioned, this began back in February. Maybe you can tell us a little more about how the sinkhole developed.
Well, there's a very old sewer there that's more than 100 years old that comes down Chestnut Street and meets a manhole that is in the middle of Riverside Drive. There's a median, and there was a manhole there. From there, the water would go down Riverside Drive towards our east wastewater treatment plant.
Right, off of Waterworks Road. There,
right off of Waterworks Road, that's right. And what happened was a sinkhole started to develop in the road. The westbound lanes, as you said, were shut down, and we had a contractor go out. They installed a box culvert, and we're able to dig down to the sewer pipe, which is 25 or 26 feet below grade.
Yeah, way down there, right?
Yeah, it's a big hole. And when they got there, it's a brick sewer. It's 5 feet by 4 feet, kind of elliptical shape. And part of the top of the sewer had collapsed.
I see.
When that happened, some of the overburden, the soils and fill on top of it also collapsed and started falling into the hole. That's why the street started to cave in.
I see. Now, there was a point, you said that those folks came in there and made this box structure. And at an early point there, we thought it was fixable, right?
That's right. This was a patchable situation. We were prepared to install a 48-inch pipe that would go inside of the existing sewer that we could grout in place. We did computational modeling to show that we could configure it and line it so that it would take all of the water, and that would be able to patch it. And we had the materials on order. Most of the materials were already here when the weather changed and we got the big flood.
I see. So tell us a little bit about what happened when we got the heavy rains and the river levels came up.
Well, the river levels came up, as we all know, they were generational elevations. So the water level in the river got up to 48 feet. As that happens, the soils in the subsurface start to get wet because the water level in the river's gone up. Plus, there's additional hydraulic pressure on the levee itself because of the river stage. And if you've been on the beach and you dug a hole and you watch it get wet, you'll see that it starts to slump. And that's precisely what happened here.
So that took care of the quick fix, and then you saw basically these water mains under Riverside started to leak. Is that right?
Well, a lot of things have happened since then. The river's come up and come down and come up and come down, but it hasn't been staying low enough that we can work in the hole. And what's happened is that the soils have continued to slump into the hole adjacent to the original failure, and all of that sand and soil that are flowing down through there are ending up in the sewer, and then we're recovering them at the wastewater plant. So we've had tons of sand arrive at the wastewater plant that we've had to remove. But what's happened then is that the manhole in the middle of the street, Riverside Drive, began to tip over and move. There's a diversion structure there under the eastbound lanes. That began to tip over and move. And then the sand underneath two large water mains on the underneath the eastbound lane and then beyond the eastbound lane, they also began to move. And those mains are the water supply for the west side of Evansville. So we've been working very hard to keep those things from failing. And we have had one of those mains has actually started dripping a little bit at one of its joints, and we were installing a clamp to prevent that from failing. So
you're able to do some work down there.
That's right. We've been able to do some work to keep everything safe. We've been, and throughout all of this, we've been working with the mayor's office and coordinating with other city departments. And of course, public safety is our first responsibility to make sure that people aren't getting in there. Of course, we did have the one fellow who accidentally found
yes,
a way in there.
a vehicle ended up in the hole. Yes.
Yeah, but we've been working closely with the mayor's office through this whole time to make sure that this is communicated as well as we can. And unfortunately, the story up to now has mostly been we're waiting for the river.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned that, waiting for the river to go down and stay down. Is there any forecast that shows that's going to happen soon?
Well, the forecast shows that that's about where we are right now. It came down below 23 feet earlier this week, I think day before yesterday, and we hope that it will stay down. The forecast models are promising, but as we begin the corrective work, we're going to be having the contractor build a shoring box that completely encloses the entire site all the way across Riverside Drive.
I see.
To try and prevent the soils from slumping into the hole. This is to protect the workers. Also, practically, it reduces the amount of hole we have to fill again when we get done, and it also protects the buildings adjacent to the site from a continuing soil movement in that area.
I see. Just to reset, this is the Friday Wrap on WNIN. I'm John Gibson. Our special guest today is the director of the Evansville Water and Sewer Utility. That is Vic Kelson. And Vic, now you say this all sounds pretty complicated. Just how complicated is it? And I guess the big question that everyone's been asking since February is, how long will it take to get this fixed and get Riverside all back open again?
It is a complicated situation. This and just to say, this started out as looking like a repair.
Right.
What it's turned into is a replacement of a segment of sewer and some other buried infrastructure there, and then some additional work to shore up those water mains. So normally, if you would take on a project like this, we would plan it for a couple of years before we executed it. We don't do them on the fly like this. That makes it complicated and more expensive, but we expect it will be done, and Riverside will be open hopefully by the end of October. And then there will still be some additional repairs once our priority is to get Riverside open. And then once it's open, we'll be continuing some other repairs in the area.
Still some work to do, even deep into the fall, apparently. Huh?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned cost. This must be a huge project. Do we know, have any estimates on what it will cost?
Well, it's cost a lot so far. We're in over $1 million already in the work that's had to have been done so far. We expect it's going to be several $1 million by the time it's over. A lot of that will be paid from our capital funds. We're hopeful that there may be some offset because of the flooding. There may be some offset from the flooding emergency, but we don't know that yet. So, but we are pursuing every avenue we can to pay for this.
So you're hoping to get some federal money, perhaps, because of the flooding.
We can certainly hope. There's no guarantee of any of that, but we will certainly pursue that.
Yeah. Now, and speaking of federal money, as you well know, there are projects underway all over the Evansville area to replace combined sewers, and that's the kind of sewer we're talking about here on Chestnut.
This is a combined sewer, yes.
Yeah. That means it has both sewage and rainwater. Any chance that federal money will help in that regard?
To one extent, a lot of that work can be funded through the state revolving fund financing through the Indiana Finance Authority. So to the extent, typically the IFA is the way that we would, and the state revolving fund would be the approach we would use.
And the IFA is the?
Indiana Finance Authority.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
And that state revolving fund basically gives us reduced interest rates and some other benefits as we're going through for bonding. But in terms of grants, those aren't very likely for projects like this.
I see. Now we talked about just how old these underground lines are, and I understand there are other similar sewers nearby, right? What might happen to them?
Well, this particular sewer is well over 100 years old, and there are others that are well over 100 years old nearby. And of course, we've got Riverside closed for a pretty long segment there, and there are a few more places where large sewers go under Riverside in the same area. we will be inspecting those, and we may very well attempt to do lining projects to reinforce those while the road's shut down, so that we don't have to shut down again.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can protect ourselves from this happening again.
Yeah. Now, thousands of people, of course, are expected on the riverfront for the 4th of July fireworks. How does the sinkhole, I'm guessing there's going to be some added security there?
Well, we're doing everything we can to secure the site. We'll make sure that everything is away from the public as much as we possibly can. We're certainly asking the public to be patient and certainly don't try to get into the hole. It's not safe to be inside the fence over there. Right. EPD for the police department will be patrolling there, and we'll be working with them to make sure that we have everything we need to secure the site. But we really do ask the public just to. There's not a lot to see there except a hole with some gravel, and it would be preferable if everyone would sort of stay back from it.
Now, I know there have been some nearby folks who have experienced some flooding in their nearby basements and such. Is there any indication that is being caused by this sinkhole?
When sewers do back up, and it happens for lots and lots of reasons. Some of them are regional, some of them are really localized to the building. So I can't speculate as to what causes a particular overflow or a particular sewer flooding incident. Those are all handled through the tort process. So people will file a claim. That'll be investigated for each particular facility, and then we'll go on from there. So I really can't speak to any of the specific ones.
Right, because we're talking about legal action that will be taken, right?
Well, and also it's just that this stuff is all underground. So we don't have a lot of information. Plus, the rains we've been having lately have been very intense for this area and very frequent. So.
So cause and effect, I guess, can be difficult.
It's difficult to sort that out. So I'm going to leave that to the investigators to handle that. Sure. That's above my pay grade. Yeah.
Yeah, but folks who have that problem can, as you say, make a claim, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and they can call Evansville Water and Sewer. Or?
Well, actually, yeah, they can. They can reach out to us, and we'll send them in the right direction.
Yeah, for folks who are having that issue. Anything else to add that we haven't touched on here, Vic?
Well, our first priority, again, has always been to protect the public from the impacts of this, and to make sure that traffic is disrupted as little as possible. And I know it's been really, really frustrating to have the traffic diverted onto Second. There are lots of complications that have happened with that. We're trying to get this fixed as quickly as we can, but we also have to do this in a way that's going to be safe for all the workers that are down there. They're going to be safe for the contractors that are working down there, and that ultimately we're going to end up with new infrastructure installed there that will be secure and reliable for the next 100+ years. So we don't have to do this again, and we don't have to face these kinds of collapses again. But there's a lot of very old infrastructure. Evansville's been here a long time. There's a lot of very old infrastructure here that is in various conditions, and sometimes these kinds of things happen, and we just have to deal with it as best we can. And
when you're speaking about old infrastructure that's right next to the Ohio River, that can certainly complicate things,
It certainly makes it more complicated when you're near the Ohio, yes.
Yeah. And so, as you mentioned, with luck, Riverside will be back open by Halloween. I guess patience is the word.
My fingers are crossed, yes.
Yeah, okay.